Taurus, I hope you're doing well. So I'm going to do your reading from the 18th to the 31st of January, and we're going to be looking at some of the kind of current energies, some kind of issues, maybe good things, some bad things, but also really how we can solve those issues as well. So basically just a big check-in really. This is just a general reading as well, so if it doesn't resonate, that's totally fine. Sometimes they resonate and sometimes they don't. It's really not a big deal. So let's get some messages then for Taurus. So we've got Death card in reverse. Just realised I've got a card upside down. I'll put that back. Okay. I'm doing oracle card as well. Creation. Okay, so it's interesting. We've got two potentially scary cards in reverse. We've got the Death card in reverse and the Tower in reverse. It's very good to have the Tower in reverse because that means that, you know, the people that are falling from the tower, as you can maybe see, they're rising up now. So this is kind of a reversal of what I would say bad situations or unexpected changes. You know, this is where you don't really have to kind of anticipate loss. You don't have to anticipate something being abandoned. So this is actually a really good card to have, the Tower in reverse. I'm going to have a look at the other cards to kind of see what it is in relation to. But the Death card in reverse kind of suggests to me that some of you guys are resisting a transition in your life, but you will get there because we have the Hanged Man. So these two cards together are interesting. This is like I'm trying to resist moving on and kind of coming out of my cocoon, going into my butterfly stage. The Hanged Man is when you are in that transitory period where you are sort of starting to accept that perhaps I do have to transition. And I think that's actually to do with the kind of energy surrounding it. We have a lot of Pentacles energy, so we have that Earth energy for you Taurus peeps. We do have a lot of Pentacles energy. We have this idea that you kind of have to be a little bit more mature and responsible with yourself. You know, you have to be a little bit more like responsible and also intelligent at the same time. So we have these two, Knight of Pentacles and King of Pentacles. So you're really starting to take charge of your own life. And I think that's actually where this comes in. I think this Death card in reverse is actually a sort of maybe more immature, irresponsible side of you that does not want to transition. And that's perfectly normal actually, because a lot of the time we are scared. You know, it's like, well, change is very odd, and you know, a lot of people say, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And so sometimes you think, what is the point of trying to have this rebirth? I've done this so many times. But actually then you start to become more mature and responsible and more intelligent, and actually I suppose weighing up your options a little bit more. And then that Hanged Man transitory period comes and we started to accept it. So I like to see these actually in some kind of order and succession. We have this Ace of Pentacles as well. This is about, you know, finding your bliss. This is a perfection. This is not only great for money, which is also great for you Earth people who like that kind of wealth. This is really about, you know, when we have the start of a deck, it's normally all about new beginnings, right? And that really links to this transitory period of that we're transitioning into this new beginning. So there's a sense of moving from something that was perhaps a difficult time into more of a bliss stage. And we know this because of this Tower in reverse. So, you know, if you haven't had a particularly good January, you know, the second half of January going into February is going to be a much easier ride for you in one way or another. And I think that's also quite interesting as well, because there's this idea of bliss I mentioned, which I suppose means something different to everybody, doesn't it? You know, I could say bliss to somebody and it makes them think of, like, I don't know, sunset in Los Angeles. I say bliss to someone else and it's them playing with their dog in their family home. Bliss is something different to everybody. And I think perhaps this is more of an inner bliss than an external one, because we are talking about having this transition. We are talking about taking, the reins of our life back in some kind of respect. So there's definitely a sort of new beginning arising from the fact that, we are just turning the tides. We are reversing bad fortune and going into a much nicer period for all of us, I think. We also have Queen of Cups in reverse. Now, this is when somebody is not so honest, okay? And this might be the fact that you're not honest with yourself about transitioning. I'm having to say this word so many times, about having to transition in your life, okay? You're not being kind to yourself. Maybe this is by resisting. And I think it's this idea of this humdrum boredom. You know, when you feel bored, you just feel and that Hanged Man actually talks a lot about boredom. You know, it's sort of like I'm going to sit on the edge of the bath in my towel and air dry for 20 minutes because I'm bored and I have nothing else to do. You know, there's a sense of that. And that Queen of Cups in reverse talks a little bit about that idea of not being so honest with yourself. It's also a little bit about not being devoted to something. You know, you are unsure about devoting yourself to this period in your life which you have to transition. For some of you, this is quite clear. This is perhaps the idea that you're having to let something go. And I mentioned this about love a little bit because we have it kind of coming through in the cards with this Ten of Cups. Okay? And this is really all about the home and the happiness and what I was talking about, bliss, this peace. These two work really well together, and that you're searching for this perfect home life, this perfect happiness. And you only really get there when you actually take more responsibility for your own life in transitioning. So I suppose what I'm trying to say in this spread, and also trying to give you the tools to understand yourself a bit more, is that you won't reach this home and happiness perfection. I mean, perhaps some of you already have it and I'm talking shit, who knows? There's this kind of home and happiness experience that you'd really love to get to, your sort of ultimate goal. But the fact that you are resisting change is all the more important when it comes to that Hanged Man and that Tower reverse card, about the fact that maybe you feel it won't get you anywhere, or if it does, it will get you somewhere worse, especially if this is a love card in which you feel like there's something still there. Chemistry, yeah, perhaps with the love situation you still feel like there's an attraction there's still chemistry, you want to explore it, but really this spread is saying that there's something here that almost needs to be let go of. And I'm not saying, by the way, I never ever tell you guys what to do, so please don't take this as me saying you have to do this at all. I do not do that. But I think it's important that when I say this, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to banish them, but perhaps something in your life with a person needs to take on a new form. And relationships are always having rebirth, and they're always being kind of replenished and growing into different things. And so there's definitely some kind of element where you feel there's something magnetic here, there's a chemistry, especially for you Tauruses that have got twin flames that are sort of persisting in this pulling away and going forward movement. It's very difficult to try and decipher what you do and don't need. And so I think this is where, as much as I'm talking about boredom, to get creative, it's so interesting that we have a few cards that talk about boredom, and there's this kind of general idea of feeling very humdrum about things. And then the oracle card for that second half of the month is creation. So we are looking at being more creative in life. We are looking at understanding things a bit more. But I also think that, we have to get creative in the ways that we think about things. Are we thinking about things too logically, or are we, when I talk about creativity in kind of romance, you talk a little bit about manifestation and how you get creative with your dreams and your goals. This idea of the kind of rainbow lover, the idea of being with somebody that gives you that maybe perfect nuclear family. So let's just pull one or two more cards just to get a general view of what's going on, and just give us any clarifiers if we need. I would like to clarify the Death card in reverse a little bit more, and potentially the Ace of Pentacles. So we've got the Chariot in reverse. Okay, so there's just a sense of lack of movement there, definitely, isn't there? Okay, and then we've got King of Wands. Okay, interesting. This is so interesting. We have like this transition really, because I talk a little bit about not being so kind to yourself and maybe being a little bit hard on yourself about not moving with this Queen of Cups in reverse. But then we have the King of Wands, which is actually pretty much the opposite of that. It's, you know, being very kind to yourself. It's actually understanding things. And again, this idea about being a little bit more educated and knowing what's going to happen with that King of Pentacles and Knight of Pentacles. So a lot of kingly energy here. So again, we've got this idea of there is an all-knowing presence when you are able to transition into your life. The Chariot in reverse card, again, I wanted it as a clarifier for that Death in reverse because it suggests to me that there's just no movement. Again, you are not budging on this idea about transitioning or making a choice in your life, okay? I use the word transition a lot, but we can talk a little bit more about change and decisions if that's the kind of word that you would like to use. So this element of no movement, and because of this, there is little success in this arena in your life because, again, you're not moving, you're not transitioning, you're not being the beautiful butterfly coming out of the cocoon, you know, and spreading your wings and sort of enjoying life. There's an element of you hanging on to something, but needing to kind of move and progress now. And I think for you, it might be hard because there's an element of stability that you crave. You want a stability and you think, well, if I transition and move, there is no guarantee of that stability. But in some respects, that's just the way life is. You know, we have to keep moving and moving on. And again, even if it's boring and it's hard, we know with this Hanged Man that there will be improvement. It's almost like you have to sort of surrender to the fact that it's a natural thing to change. You have to sort of be like a plant and just change as the seasons go. So that was your reading for the second half of January. I will be doing a February reading overall and also some more readings as well. Hopefully you enjoyed it and I hope you have a great second half of January. So thank you very much for watching.